Coming to you live from a basic mountain, but an Unfinity basic mountain, so it's a spaceic mountain. It's TapTapConcede. Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of TapTapConcede. Once again, I am Kathleen, and I'm here with our guests from the Unfinity PPR. Going from my left, your right if you're watching, and whatever side you want to append to this setup if you're only listening. We have Megan from Good Luck High Five. We have Maria from Good Luck High Five. And we have Wizards of the Coast senior designer, Mark Rosewater. Yay. If you're watching and or listening, you can apply your own clapping.
Yay!
I'll supply some for you. Here you go.
And we have a variety of fun and delightful questions. As we know, when we have these guest questions, we like to ask what I call 5 hot pepper spice level questions. So stay tuned for some incredibly controversial takes. But before I get to that, a big thank you to our sponsors, CardKingdom.com. We couldn't do what we do without the support of our wonderful sponsors, and one of whom is inexplicably still CardKingdom.com. And if you like what you see and you want to tell them that you like what we see or what you see, that you like us, tell them you like us. You can do that by using our affiliate code and by saying, Loading Ready Ren sent me, button please, when you make an order. And right now, if you get a button, it's going to say Card Kingdom, a constitutional monarchy of cards, because they told us, well, they didn't tell us we couldn't put that on a button. And
Great.
So many oversights in that contract. Anyhow, the other thing that we can't do without is your support of our Patreon at patreon.com. So thank you so much. Giving us money at Patreon is a great way to pay for the lights and for our wages and our rent on our office and all of the cool cameras and equipment and stuff that, makes this show. And thank you to James, who's running tech for this episode. So first off, we got to talk a little bit about Unfinity.
Yes, we must.
Yeah.
It's why we're here.
So I am very excited. I have not really obviously it's not even out yet. This is pre-PR. This is pre-release.
PPRR.
Pre-release.
Yeah.
Pre-PR.
So I haven't played it or even seen any of the cards in person yet, and I am really excited. But Mark, as somebody who is literally on every team for Unfinity, from
I've led all the unsets, yes.
Yes, but so what's if somebody is tell us a little bit about the set. If somebody is listening to this for the first time and is completely unaware of what Unfinity is and why it's great.
Okay, so basically the idea of unsets is there's a spectrum of Magic. On one end is the high-end competitive part of Magic, that if you want to go to tournaments and have serious play and win the Pro Tour and be world champion, you can do that. But there's the other end of the spectrum, which is the casual, friendly, social. You're like, Magic's fun, that I just enjoy playing it and having a good time. And there's a lot of cool designs that we can't do because of tournaments. Oh. Either they don't exactly work in the rules, or they involve things like dexterity or talking to other people, or things that are fun, but, we don't want the World Championship depending upon it. Right. And so the idea of the unsets is it just lets us explore this casual side of the game. And because one of the great things about Magic is you get to make it the game you want to be. And if you want it to be very serious, hey, great, you can do that. But if you want to have a lot of fun and do a lot of kooky, fun things, you can do that as well. And that's what the unsets are trying to do. So Unfinity is the latest of the unsets, the fourth of the unsets, and we try to make a top-down unset. So what we do is we take things we apply to a normal Magic set, top-down, for example, Innistrad with top-down Gothic Horror, Throne of Eldraine with top-down Fairy Tales, Theros with top-down Greek mythology. So we decided we were going to apply that to an unset. So what basically happened is I went to my art director named Dawn Mirren. She had done art directing for Unstable. And I said to her, I want to do a top-down set. I want to come up with something cool that we can build around that we wouldn't do somewhere else, because obviously if we do somewhere else, let's do it somewhere else. So we went away for a week. We came back. She said, I would love to do a retro science fiction set. The idea is science fiction is seen through the lens of the past, like the 50s and 60s. I said I've always been fascinated by the idea of doing the tropes of the circus, carnival, amusement park. And we said, let's just do both. So that's how we ended up. So it's a space carnival. So the idea is this is set aboard Myra the Magnificent's Intergalactic Astratorium of Fun, which is a space carnival that travels around the galaxy, going from planet to planet. and it is a high-octane amusement park that has all sorts of things. Myra prioritizes having a great time over, things like safety, but it is really an exciting park, and it is a humorous thing. I mean, one of the things that we do with the Unsets is we play up the lighter side of Magic, and that's not just in the gameplay, but also in the names and the art and the flavor text. And so it is a very light set with lots of comedy in it. We, in fact, invited members of LRR to be part of it. So Kathleen, among others, were able to actually write names and flavor text. So
it was so exciting to be to be invited to do that, because like when I found out that there was Unsets, because I started playing like later in life. I was like in my 20s, and so when I found out there's Unsets, I was like, oh my gosh, there's Unsets, how cool. And then the last Unset came out and I was like, wow. And at this time, at that point in my life, I then knew that there was something called like creative text. And it's like, God, I would love to write a funny Magic card and like put words on the funny Magic cards. This was like a many-year dream come true to work on the set. And it was delightful to work with you, and it was very educational to sort of see how other people's ideas come together and to like work as a group and bounce ideas. It was very fun. I love doing it.
And the other thing that's very unique for people that have never written for Magic is that it's like we show you the art and we show you what the card does, but there's a lot of like, how do I bring this all together? Like, how do I need to be funny, but how do I do that and make everything tie together in one cohesive thing? And that's actually, it's very challenging. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that, because, sometimes like the art brief is like, so this is kind of the mood we're shooting for. And it's like, all right, well, how do I say that in 2 words, right? Ooh, can I get a whole sentence? Can I get 2 sentences of flavor text here? All right, we're world building now, right?
Yeah, so I'll give a good example, and this is the card that you did the name and flavor text on.
Oh.
So I will set it up, and then you can deliver here. So we made a card that was a milling card, and so the idea is whenever you cast it, you mill equal to the number how many words are in the name. Normal Magic can't do that, so that's something we would do in an unset. And we wanted, because it's a milling card, we wanted to somehow have milling represented in the art. So we decided to make a little windmill from a miniature golf game. So all that really happened is there's a milling card and there's a miniature golf game in space. Okay, we got to name this and we got to put flavor text on it.
Yeah, so, the name has to be exactly 6 words long.
The name had to be 6 letters for mechanical reasons. It had to be 6 words long.
Yeah. So I was just I was just like, all right, I'm here. What am I going to say about this? I'm going to look at this and go, how is this a par 3? Right?
Yes.
So.
Brilliant. And you do say that a lot when you're out golfing.
Yeah.
You'll be like, what? This is a par 4? Like, you think it's a par 5 or whatever.
And this is the first Magic card ever to have both an exclamation, a question mark, and an exclamation point in the title. It's the first ever. First ever for Magic.
Wow.
We've had each, but not both together. So.
Well, I feel like the question mark and exclamation point combination, it gives like a powerful sense of like almost being offended, right? It's like, what? No.
Just aghast.
Yes, exactly.
And then so for the flavor text, we look at how much rules text is on it, and how much rules text dictates how long it can be. So what we say to the writers is, okay, we got 1 line, 2 lines. Like here we'd say, oh, we have about 2 lines. So you have like this much space to make your joke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's good. It's like it's almost like poetry, almost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of revisions.
So you read the flavor text. That's a good place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Against the infinite backdrop of space isn't all golf miniature.
Yeah, it's
I
so
love
good.
it.
So good.
Very, very good flavor text.
And if you look at the art, the great thing about, you have to go look, if you're listening, you can't see it, but if you go look online, it is a crazy golf course because it's just in space. There's no gravity. It's just a very crazy looking golf game.
Seems like it would be miserable, honestly.
Or exciting. I don't know. Maybe it's the most exciting.
It reminds
I think
me of Rainbow
Aftertorium
Road.
is very exciting. I'm not saying it's necessarily safe. I'm not saying you're getting the highest quality merchandise or anything, but I do. It looks fun.
It is exciting at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Many things happen to you at the Astrotorium. It's a very it's almost like Terry Pratchett-esque definition of exciting. So one of the things that you mentioned a little while ago was like unsets give you an opportunity to take ideas that you've had but maybe aren't going to work for various reasons.
Yeah.
Are there any ideas that you got into Unfinity that you were able to be like, yes, I've had this idea sort of tickling the back of my brain for so many years and finally it worked, or I've always wanted to do a card like this, right?
Like for example, there's a card called Far Out. And so what Far Out does is a spell that lets you, in Magic we have modes, so I guess let me read it. Far Out is 2 and a white, enchantment. Rather than choose the indicated number of modes for spells and abilities you control, you may choose one or more modes. You can't choose any mode more than once. So we've been trying to make this card for years, right? It just seems like a fun card. Magic has a lot of modes. Well, what if you have a card that says, do all the modes? That seems like a fun card. The problem is in the rules, like there's a card called Outlaws Merriment. And the problem is it's a mode card, but it only makes a single token. So how do you make more than one state of a single token? So the rules can't handle that. And so, like, a lot of times we make things that, like, they work 99.9% of the rules, and people understand, like, because people always say, I get it, I understand the card, why can't you make that? And like, well, there's this certain kind of case where the rules can't handle it, and Outlaws Merriment, the rules just can't handle. Like, we made a ruling on things, but... and that's why we make uncards. Here's a really fun card. We try to make it forever. It's a fun card. And just the rules can't quite handle it. But humans can handle it. Just because the rules can't handle it doesn't mean humans can't handle it. Because the weird corner case is never going to actually come up. Or, it's 1 card out of 24,000 or 2 cards out of 24,000. So it's not going to come up much. But yeah, this is a great example. Far Out's a great example of a card that I've been trying to get in Magic sets forever. And there's a lot of classic cards. There's a card in Unhinged that was called Staying Power, that we did a new riff on it in the set, that effects don't end till end of turn. I tried to get that in sets forever and just couldn't. There's a card called The Count, where you destroy target player.
Oh, yeah.
Thwarted Nothingness originally destroyed target player, and the rules manager's like, we cannot destroy target player. You cannot do that. And so I put it on an uncard. So, yeah, a lot of cards that end up in uncards are, hey, I tried to do it, and the rules just didn't let me do it. But I'm like, it's fun. Why should people not be able to do it just because the rules can't handle weird corner cases? Let the people have their fun. So
I appreciate that. And then with this set, you do have the acorn, which is like, look, just doesn't work, but just enjoy it and have a good time.
Yeah.
It's not, but you also have in this set, which is a change. You have some cards that do work eternally. How was it to sort of like balance that?
Well, we decided very late in the process to do this. We basically just made an unset, and then what happened was, in between us making this and it coming out, Adventures in Forgotten Realms came out, and they had added die rolling, and a lot of our set was die rolling, and I'm like, so why do I have die rolling that you just can't play with, but they have die rolling and like you can play with it in standard? Like it just didn't make any sense. Like if my cards had been in their set, they were playable, and if they're in my set, they're not playable. So I'm like, why are we telling people they can't? Like the number one complaint I got about Unstable is, could you please remake this card and just put it in a black border? Like, could you make this card so I can play it? I'm like, I did make the card so that you could play it, and so mostly what we said is, why are we, like, if the rules can handle it, why are we telling people they can't play it just because it's in the set? Like, yeah, it's got a silly name, but Magic has silly name. It's not like normal sets don't have silly names from time to time. Yeah. So, we decided this very late in the process, and we didn't. We tweaked 1 or 2 cards, but like we mostly said, okay, what's already in the set that just the rules can work with, and we make, both the main mechanics, stickers and attractions worked in the rules. So we're like, why not let people use it? Why make it verboten just because it's in the set? So that's why we did it.
Excellent. Now we know. That's very cool, and it makes perfect sense. And I'd never thought of it like that. Yeah. I've already seen people online talking about how, like, you can do very exciting things with dice rolling, and like Monoxa, who's one of the legends and stuff like that. So
yeah, there's a lot of for example, if you like die rolling cards, there is in almost all the die rolling cards. I think there's 1 or 2 exceptions, but most of the die rolling cards are internal, and you can play with them. And there's all sorts of things you can do now. And hopefully we'll keep making more die rolling cards. I like die rolling cards.
They're
Me
fun.
too. Same. I loved when they were in the D&D set. That was really fun.
So there's some fun Unfinity facts for you. But in fact, because I'm a very professional person, I'm going to look at my notes and I'm going to say, now it's time for Kathleen's prepared questions, the most spontaneous section of the podcast.
Fabulous.
So off the top of your head, what were you?
Yeah, off the top of my head, just like, here's a great question that I totally don't always ask. This is a silly set. And you know what? Many people have silly, ridiculous, over the top totally wild and bananas playing Magic the Gathering stories. The example I always give, because I will die and this moment will flash before my eyes, is James telling me not to just go all out on an attack, because there's no way Graham can like take me from 19 life to 0. And of course that immediately happened the next turn at the Avacyn Restored pre-release. So that's like sort of my like, that was a terrible beat, ridiculous bananas Magic story. But now I am curious about what all of yours are.
Oh man. Okay. This one isn't playing Magic, but it is Magic related because it involves coming here to the pre-release. I'm pretty sure that when we landed in Vancouver and I went through passport control, that the border agent was very concerned that I was being catfished by you all. Because I'm like, he's like, what are you? I was like, he was like, what are you here for? And I was like, I'm seeing friends. And he was like, how do you know these friends? And I was like, oh, we all play a lot of Magic the Gathering. And then he was like, have you met these friends in person before? And he was like, how long have you known them? I was like, gosh, I think 10 years. Have you met them in person? And I was like, yes. Don't worry, sir. I'll have it back. I'm not being catfished by my friends.
And then we felt we couldn't catfish her. So
Yeah, I know. We were going to. We all had such plans.
Mark,
Exactly.
Ixnay on the edit Ray reader. Maria, what's your most fun Magic story?
Well, I'll give a commentating story. This was the first Pro Tour that I did that I was on the news desk for. Previously, I had done like life totals, tracking cards in hand down the feature match area on those little iPads. But I was on the news desk, and so I was very excited and extremely nervous. And this was Pro Tour Nashville. Traveled there, and this was before my body had built up a pretty fierce immunity to any disease from having traveled, almost every single weekend of every single month for Magic. So I got there, and we'd have a day of preparation or whatever, and then I was like, oh man, I do not feel good. Like I have a horrible scratchy sore throat or whatever. I have to go to urgent care. The number of times I've been to urgent care during Magic events is altogether too high. But this time I went, and they're like, yes, you have strep throat. And I'm like, no, this can't be happening to me, because
On the news
it's
desk?
my first time on the news desk and like whatever. So we hadn't actually started the broadcast yet because we were just doing preparation. And I'm like, doctor, what can you do? Like, I need to go and do this show. Like, this is super important to me and I want to be able to do it. And they're like, well, I can give you some shots. I was like, do it. I was Palpatine. Do it. So basically they took the 2 largest needles I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm dramatizing this, but it was really rather dramatic. And the nurse came in and just shot them both into my butt. Just like, doosh. That was the plunger going down, by the way, the sound. And then like huge bruises on my butt for like weeks because it was just jammed in there. And she's like, good luck to you, send me on my way. I stayed in the hotel room. I missed one day, and then I was like not contagious anymore and back on set and did that Pro Tour. Yep. There you go.
What was it shots of?
It would have been the strep throat medicine.
Yeah, just
it's best not to ask.
Yeah. No, it was an antibiotic. Yeah, it wasn't like they were giving me like steroids or whatever.
They just straight up gave Maria some steroids. They're like,
no.
these will make you feel invincible, kid.
Get out there, infect the whole crew, and you're gonna feel like $1 million, baby. Don't say Nashville never did nothing for you.
That was a disastrous trip because also the day before, like when you were going to urgent care, I was spending the day walking around with some friends, and I just biffed it on a sidewalk and like rolled my ankle so bad, like twisted my ankle, twisted the crap out of it.
Did you guys see each other coming and going in urgent care?
Yeah, exactly. See,
I'm like
you're
limping
here
in,
too,
Maria's
I
like
guess.
limping out.
Here we are.
What are you here for? Shots in my ass. What are you
Urgent care also gave me 2 shots in the butt for a sprained ankle.
This place has one cure, but you know what? It works. Just some glamorous tales from Pro Tour coverage, everyone.
Oh, Oh my god. So, Mark, when have you had to get shots?
So I mean, I have a lot. I mean, I've worked on Magic for so long. I have a lot of stories, but one of my favorite moments that happened was in a playtesting moment. I was playtesting. It was Time Spiral, and at the time we were trying a mechanic that didn't end up in the set, but it was like a double tap mechanic. So you could tap it once, and then you could tap it a second time. So and then it would only untap halfway. So the idea was
it tap twice? Did it go all the way around?
It went all the way around. And the idea was when you untap, you only untap one untap. So if you double tapped it on a turn, it would take 2 turns to get back to the full state. You tap it twice.
Love it.
So it's like kind of like proto-exert almost.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And so the idea was they were things that you would want to do twice, right?
Yeah.
And so one of them was you tap it and you name a card, and then you look at their hand, and if it's in their hand, they have to discard it.
Oh, okay.
And the whole idea behind it is, well, you double tap it. So the first time I'm guessing, and maybe I make an educated guess, but I look at your hand. So the second time, hey, I know what's in your hand. I want to guess something that's there.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So my opponent was playing against Devin Lowe, who used to be a designer at Wizards, and he had one card in his hand. So I know I can tap it twice. So the first time I'm tapping it, I can just guess, right? And I know the second time, whatever it is, I'm going to see it, I'm going to get it. So I know I'm getting the card in his hand. So the first time doesn't mean anything. And so I'm like, I'm just screwing around. I can say anything I want. It doesn't matter. So I say Solkanar the Swamp King just because it's funny. Now, for those who remember, Time Spiral, there was a bonus sheet in Time Spiral where we had cards from the past. And Aaron Forsyth was in charge of it, and it constantly was changing. And so I had a rough idea what was on it, but it was constantly changing, so I didn't always know the full list. So I said to him basically, Sulking on a Swamp King, and he goes, got me.
No.
And I'm like, I just
way.
randomly named a card out of 20,000 cards, and I got the card in your hand. I didn't know it was in the set. I was just screwing around. And I was so excited I did a lap around the pit because I was just like,
well, yeah.
What is the chance I could randomly hit one card of all of Magic? So
unbelievable.
That's amazing.
Holy cow. And look at that guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And by the way, I didn't want him to play Sulkin on the Swamp King.
Well, yeah, no way.
That's what I knew
seems
he had.
pretty good.
Were you playing black? Was it going to be a problem for you? Or...
I don't even know. I was playing black because the card that was making it was a discard card, which by inherent had to be a black card. So yes, I was playing black. But
all right.
Anyway, that was just one of those moments where like you just didn't see it coming from a mile away, and it was very exciting. Magic has those very exciting moments you just didn't see coming.
So. When you rip exactly what you want off the top, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah.
When you don't rip exactly what you want off the top, it's every other turn.
Yeah, very true.
Life goes on. So there's some fun Magic. I'm really personally invested in Unfinity for some reason. Are there any like?
I too invested in Unfinity.
Speaking of like playtesting and stuff, do you have any like fun playtesting stories from Unfinity that you could share?
I do. I have lots of fun ones. So one of the ones. Okay, so there's a card called Gobsmacked, where you pick somebody. And then as long as you can see them, it's an arrest. They can't attack or block or use activated abilities. And so our rule in playtesting is we didn't say who the person was, just that you had to be able to see them. So I picked somebody else who's playing with in the room was playtesting with us. And the person, like after I picked them, the person who's unaware that they're who I picked, obviously, says, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. So they get up and they leave the room. And I'm like, no! And so, like, I'm doing everything I can to stall because I don't, obviously, like, as long as they're gone, this creature can attack. And I'm going to be dead. So I'm throwing everything in the way. I'm like, if I just can survive till they get back from the bathroom. And I'm like, it all depends. How long do they take? Like, I can survive if they don't take too long. And they got back just in time for me to survive. And the thing that was the funny thing about it is, as soon as the person leaves, I start laughing, and everyone's like, "What's going on?" So I explained to the room what's going on, so everybody in the room understood, and like everybody's waiting to see when they come back. And I'm sure they were like, "Why is everybody watching me when I walk back in?"
Great.
Yeah, imagine coming back from the bathroom, and everybody's like, "Woo!" You did it, Mark. It's like, I was the one who went to the bathroom. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, one of the things that's always interesting is whenever we would do something that was very memorable, that was a big sign that, like, oh, we've done something. Like, another fun story is there's a card called Phone a Friend, where you have to call somebody.
I
And
love
so,
it so much.
and there's 4 choices. You can, like, it's you know, you give them one of the 4 choices. So I'm playing, I forget what it was. Let's say it was B. Like, if the person chooses B, I'm going to win the game. So I decide it's the first time anybody had ever used Phone a Friend ever. The first time in a playtest it came up. So I get it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to call my wife Laura. I'm going to call my wife Laura. And so everything stopped. I put it on my speakerphone. Like, everyone's gathered around. And I call my wife, and she's like, what is this for? I go, you got to pick one. And she goes, what does it mean? I go, just pick one. She goes, I don't even know what this means. I go, just A, B, C, or D. And she's like, C. Okay, thank you very much. And like, I did win the game. I didn't win right away. I would have won that. Had she picked like B, I would have won that turn.
Right.
And then I get home and she's like, "What was that?" And I go, "Oh, you know." And she goes, "Did you win?" I go, "Yeah, I won. Had you picked B, I would have won sooner."
Wow, this card's great. I
Yes,
hope
I
it
love
happens.
For those of you who are listening at home, Phone a Friend. Could you bring that back very quickly, James? Sorry, it's 3 blue. It's a sorcery, and you just call someone. I appreciate that it's a sorcery because you do have to phone someone. You don't
Yeah.
want to like interrupt somebody
Yes.
at instant speed.
Yep.
Now hold up, I got to make a phone call. But you call someone and ask them to choose one. So A is gain control of target creature you don't control. B is choose target creature you control, and you create 2 tokens of it that are copies. And C is take an extra turn, and D is draw 7 cards. And when you phone the friend, you do not explain what is going on. It's just
Yes.
A, B, C, or D.
You didn't read the reminder text that says that.
Don't explain anything else. You choose targets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Reading
yeah.
the card
And-
explains the card.
The other thing, by the way, is in the art, we thought was very funny. There was, I think, in the when we made the playtest cards what was the name of that set? There was a set where we made these like hand-drawn playtest cards.
Oh, yes.
The mystery booster.
The mystery boosters.
Mystery boost- yeah.
And in that, there's a card where people are talking on the phone, and we liked that dynamic of like the 2 people with the separation. And all we said was, well, one of the people should be Urza's disembodied head because he's a
Oh, yeah,
planeswalker
for sure.
from Unstable. Like, well, maybe Urza. And then I think they just put like this merfolk that's having like card trouble or space trip trouble. But anyway, so Urza's now gotten into 3 unsets. Urza's disembodied head was in Unhinged, and he had a hot tub. He was in Unstable as a planeswalker,
Yep.
and now he's in as on Phone a Friend. So
Beautiful.
he is the character
Great.
that I believe has appeared in the most unsets. Disembodied Urza.
Still got those vocal cords though, you know, hanging down somewhere.
Just the Ghibli
dangling.
card behind the
just out
beard.
there.
He invented something.
Gross.
Yeah.
Does he still have the? At this point, does he still? Well, wait. Does unset version of Urza still have the power stones in the
No,
eye?
the unversion of it does not. He has a disembodied head, but no, he does not have the power stones for
Okay.
eyes.
I was gonna say that.
And this is the universe where, like Jace, there's a Jace Balaran, Space Balaran. In the universe, which is a different multiverse,
Right.
He is he gallivants around space.
Yeah.
He's a space hero. So
I want to add now. Speaking of the real distinctions between the universe, which is separate than
Yeah.
like the
Normal
the
multiverse.
normal
Yeah.
multiverse. Fibblethip is on a card. He's in really totally lost or something like
yes,
that.
well, this is the universe version of Fibblethip.
Okay, so this is not the normal Ravnica.
I believe no characters from the real Magic universe are here. They're their own versions in this multiple universe. So people have asked the question, by the way, if this is the universe version of Jace, does that mean that there's a real version of Comet, the dog?
Yeah.
There must be.
It has to be true for the balance of all things.
The balance.
So by the way, we have for those that don't know, there's a dog planeswalker in the set who, when I say a dog, I don't mean like dog person or intelligent dog. It's a dog. He he digs up bones on Zendikar and buries them in Innistrad.
He's just running around doing dog things.
Honestly,
dog stuff.
so he's probably living a great life. Honestly,
Oh, he's
Like
a happy
having
dog.
a very good time.
he's like I think this might be like a Canadian thing, but are you guys familiar with The Littlest Hobo? It's like a very old TV show that was on Canada. It was like a German Shepherd that would run
You're
around.
making
No.
this show up.
By the way, if you can say, well, in Canada, I just make something up.
No.
We
Yeah,
wouldn't
no,
know.
no, it's true. He's like a problem-solving German Shepherd that goes from town to town.
Sure he is, Kathleen.
James, back me up on this.
oh my
Oh.
god!
age.
Wow.
Le vagabond.
Oh
So-
my goodness.
I would cry every time. Of course, it's like old. So every time I saw it on TV, I would cry because I wanted the dog to have a home. And it's just like, I could sing you the theme song.
Yeah, let's hear
All
it.
right. Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. Does it go like this? I'm the littlest hobo, and I'm a dog.
It's just like, maybe someday I'll want to settle down. But until tomorrow, I've got to carry on. It's like so 1980s. It's so sad.
I'm sad right now.
That's destroyed child Kathleen.
Did you see the tagline of the show? It was like, until tomorrow, he's just moving on.
Oh.
This dog
Wow.
has seen some crap. You know what I mean? He's like, left the family, roving the countryside. Don't bother me, please. Thank you.
I don't
Wow.
think you could make a show like that today because like
No.
somebody would call animal control.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You couldn't make so many of the animal movies we watched growing up. Like, I can't watch a movie with animals because of how scarred I am by all the movies with animals from our childhood.
Whenever, by the way, I see a wacky TV show, I just imagine the pitch for the TV show. Like someone's in a room going, The Fugitive, but with a dog.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was once an article on the sadly now gone website, The Toast, that was like the pitch meeting for Wishbone.
I'm glad we're bringing Wishbone up when we're here again. I have to say.
Back in my stand-up days, I did a whole bit about how there was one guy in Hollywood that would accept any pitch. And then I did a whole bunch of crazy shows, like, you know, saying like, it's my mother, but she's reincarnated as a car, you know.
I'd watch that.
It's called the Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
But
Wow. Sick
Yeah.
burn on his mom.
It's a prisoner of war camp, but it's a wacky comedy.
you're hired.
Yep.
I feel like they've made some of these shows since you
They-
quit doing
they-
stand-up.
They've made all these shows.
Yeah.
Ergo the joke.
All right. That was some fun development and interesting stories. We're completely off topic, but you know, it's really important for like good podcast flows to abruptly change the subject back to your prepared notes. All right. So this is a question that I was like, all right, this is going to be a good one because it's really, really relevant. And then I totally forgot to do anything. But this is like, since, you know, creative text and all that, don't know why I'd be so invested in it. Let me have my moment, internet. Everybody really people like names and flavor text become very memorable and become sort of mimetic and stuff like that. So does anybody have any like favorite cards names or favorite flavor
I have
text?
a favorite piece of flavor text.
I would love to hear your favorite.
So in
flavor
fact,
text.
this flavor text has inspired more magic cards than any other piece of flavor text. You guys want to guess what it is?
Wow.
This card has inspired at least 3 cards and maybe more than 3. But it's inspired numerous cards, meaning the flavor text existed, and from that flavor text, we made cards.
I have a guess.
Okay.
Is it Hands Run?
It is! Yes, the Lurgoyf.
Wow.
Hans Run, it's the Lurgoyf.
So that was that.
Last words of Safi Eriksdotter.
Yeah.
In fact, we make a parody of that in Unfinity. So on the card Killer Cosplay, which I
Oh,
believe,
yeah.
I think Graham wrote this joke.
Graham wrote the flavor text for this.
I tweaked it a little bit, but
So good.
so Killer Cosplay shows a picture of a little bear cub. Literally, it's modeled after the card Bear Cub, and he's wearing a Tarmogoyf costume because Tarmogoyf has the same mana cost as him. And the card Killer Cosplay says green artifact equipment. When Killer Cosplay becomes attached to a creature, choose a creature card name with an identical mana cost. That creature becomes a copy of the card with the chosen name until Cosplay becomes unattached from it. Equip 3. So Graham figured out, well, it's Tarmogoyf is a Lurgoyf. Oh, well, he's dressed up like a Lurgoyf. Let's make a reference to the one of the most famous flavor texts of all time. And so the flavor text is, Hans Run, get the camera, he's adorable. Steffi, Bob's daughter, next words.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Great.
Now, I don't have anything to contribute. I don't know. I definitely rather than go in all of Magic's history, I will say from this set, there's a flavor text that Austin wrote on the card that is like the kid eating the Ashiok candy floss.
Oh, questionable cuisine.
Questionable cuisine. The flavor
Which is
text-
not alliterative, even though it is alliterative. That's the... we have a card that cares about alliteration, but we said it's have to start with the same letter, but technically alliteration in English means it starts with the same sound. And this card starts with the same sound but not the same letter. So it's the alliterative card that isn't alliterative. So sorry. Go ahead.
And it returns 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, and you create a food token for each trash can that you can see from your seat. We'll have to seed the moon base with some stuff when we do the pre-release. Actually, I'm just realizing. But the flavor text for this is so good. May contain soy. May contain a deep void, chillingly hoarse and howling without voice. May contain gluten. Just perfect use of the available space.
This art is fantastic too.
Really good.
Ashiok's head with the smoke coming up as the cotton candy or whatever.
Really good.
It's excellent. I would buy that.
So the story behind this, real quickly, is when we did the world push, which is after vision design is done, we bring people in for 3 weeks to sort of build the world. That got made. The Ashiod cotton candy got made during that, and we're like, okay, we have to use that, and so we built a card around it because we knew we wanted to have it. The other thing that's really fun about this park, by the way, is they rip off Magic. So the idea is that Myra the Magnificent. We don't think she paid for it, but it has the Magic IP, so we can make fun of the Magic IP. So the park has the Magic IP.
She's not paying for the Magic IP, so she can pay her employees better. That's the headcanon,
yes,
right?
Yes, headcanon. She's very good at her employees.
Yes, that was the one thing where what if we made it so all I just anyhow. What I like about the Ashiok cotton candy is that it's licorice flavored, I think, personally.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
black.
definitely.
So it's still making people miserable,
no.
which
Yeah,
I
it's
think
terrible.
Ashiok would approve of.
Really approve
Well,
of.
it is questionable cuisine, so.
I like licorice, though. I want licorice flavored candy floss.
No.
Yes. More for me. Someone make this abomination and ship it to us, and then I'll take a flattened disc of not good candy floss anymore and say, thanks for trying. Do you, Megan and Maria, do you two have any favorite cards, favorite names, flavor text, anything that you're just I like that?
I don't remember which set it was from. I think it's from Innistrad Midnight Hunt or one of the associated commander decks, I want to say, but it's Ghoul's Night Out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Ghoul's Night Out.
Really excellent name. And it gets to be a pun, and it's not even in an unset. Here it is.
Yes.
Just really excellent.
A+.
Yeah, I like it when Magic is able to push more into the fun space.
Yes,
So.
and I think
Absolutely.
it really fits because it is Gisa from Innistrad, and she seems like,
Yeah, she's gonna have a
she
Ghouls
would
night
be
out.
about this.
Yes.
She's having a great time. Look at that smile on her face.
She's of the minimal partying that probably happens on Innistrad, she's heading it up.
I feel like a lot of people are probably pretty grim on Innistrad, but I feel like she's constantly living her best
this
life.
place rocks.
Yes.
If she was a planeswalker, she still wouldn't leave.
She'd be like, this is my ideal locale.
She gets to wasn't that her body surfing on a bunch of zombies or whatever?
Probably.
You know what I mean?
Like,
could be.
that sounds like Gisa.
Sounds like something she would do.
Oh, shoot. There's some really good, speaking of Gisa and Geralf, her brother, there's some amazing flavor text that sort of develops their relationship.
Yeah, they have a warped relationship.
Yeah, there's and I can't remember what the name of the card is, but it's he's making a likeness of her, and he's but it's a gross, stitched zombie thing.
This is in Crimson Vow.
Yeah, and he's like, don't you like it, sister? And it's so funny, and it just builds up this relationship so well, and I don't remember anything about it because I didn't do my research. Sorry, James.
Well, there's
the card
a great
So,
holiday
He's
card.
a stitcher. She's a necromancer. Will they ever get along?
From last holiday, they had one holiday chopping, which is he's getting her a present, and he's just giving her an arm, and she's like, oh, thank you, oh, that's so sweet of you, and I'm like, I thought that was great too.
Yeah.
There, last minute chopping. Dear brother, I couldn't forget you if I tried, and I have tried. And he's giving her an arm. Oh, beautiful.
I think she gave him the arm.
Oh, she gave him the arm. I see.
Because he's a stitcher. She knows that he wants an arm for whatever he's making.
He needs the pieces to stitch them together.
That's a good arm. She didn't have to give him that one.
Yeah,
No.
she could have given a way worse
If she wrapped it
arm.
and everything.
Yeah.
Really
Where
nice.
are their parents in all this?
I don't think
Well,
they're so
I think you can answer that own question.
Pretty far gone.
Oh, I was hoping they just like moved to Handweir and weren't taking their letters anymore.
We have not canonically said what happened to the bird.
They're just living the most basic life you can live on Innistrad.
Yeah. So, only killing ghouls and zombies every like couple of weeks, laying low.
I will point out the card from the D&D set, Lurking Roper, which Megan did the flavor text for.
Oh.
This
I do love
this one is real good. If you all haven't seen this one, it might have flown under your radar because also this is a really fun flavor text in, a normal standard set, which is you see stalactites grow from the ceiling while stalagmites reach.
So here's the funny
There you
thing. We did that same basic joke in Unfinity on a card called Drop Tower. There's 6 versions of Drop Tower, so we can find it immediately.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I don't remember this, but that might be why.
Yeah, there's a very similar joke. I mean, when I say a similar joke, I mean the same sort of structure setup.
Yeah, the conceptual.
Yes,
joke.
conceptually, where someone is trying to explain that, but actually, yeah, here it is.
No, actually, you can't
So
drop
that-
in space.
yeah,
What you?
right.
Great. I love your calling out the technically correct people, too.
We're making a commentary about but actually people.
This is the type of ride that terrifies me the most at amusement parks also. Like I find Tower of Terror, Power Tower, whatever flavor of it is called at the amusement park. I hate the part where you're just sitting waiting
The
for
waiting
them
is
to
the
drop
hardest
you.
part.
I think that is the worst moment of any ride.
So because this is the Astrotorium, note that they are way, 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 way higher than you would ever actually go.
Absolutely.
There's actually another Drop Tower has another piece of flavor text that's talking about how once you're 200 stories up, you have another 80 stories to realize what mistake you've made.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I thought
There it is,
of misattributing something. I feel like Graham or I may have written this one, but no, don't take my words for it. But it
Wow,
says,
I want to go on it.
Yeah,
Yes. 60 stories above the Astrotorium. Attendees often wonder if they've made a mistake. They have another 200 stories to decide.
Yep.
Absolutely
How long
not.
could your stomach be that far above your head? Because it's like a 2-second drop or whatever. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But if you're dropping for 5 straight minutes, what happens to you?
Is there some permanent damage to your
Yes.
physical body?
I mean, pulling G's disregarding. I just mean for feeling that sensation for that long when you just I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's for science to figure out.
Yeah, one of the fun things of the set was we made a list of all the rides you expect to see, and then we just made crazy versions of, like it's a Drop Tower, like you would expect to see, except it's 260 stories high,
It's terrifying.
Right.
I am similarly afraid of heights and do not want to go on that ride ever.
We also did a log flume where the log is a tree folk that talks to you.
Yeah. I think,
Great.
was that Sean Baby's flavor text? So it's
Well,
just
there's
hop
multiple-
in.
Yeah, there's multiple pieces. It's a rare, so I think there's 2 pieces of flavor text.
Oh yeah, this is the one that James just pulled up is thanks for writing. Be sure not to leave anything behind. Just some tree humor for you, which I think was Austin's flavor text.
And then the other one.
Desperately trying to remember because it's very important to me. And then keep your hands and feet inside me at all times and enjoy that.
You do an excellent reading of that flavor text.
I had a D&D villain once who was like a Simic guy. I mean, villain. He was a capitalist, really. But he had
Still a villain.
Villain, capitalist.
He had kind of a voice, so I got really
a great
good at doing
voice.
it for a
Great
while.
voice.
His name was Bubalox, and he invented an amusement park, and they had the rides, and everybody could. It's like you get to ride one in the session, and it was mostly an excuse for me to talk about the rides. And I was like, "So what ride do you want to ride?" And of course, the ride everybody picked was the Bubbler, because they wanted me to say it about 8 times. But anyhow, enough of that. It's time to get on to, I know, the question that everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah.
The traditional, Kathleen is here guest hosting with our guests. It's time for everybody's hot pepper food takes. What is your most controversial food opinion?
Wow. Okay, I need to not start. I'm thinking about that.
Oh,
Okay.
I have a controversial.
All right, go
Okay.
ahead, Mark.
Often people, I'm a very picky eater. And so people will go, give me an example of how you're a picky eater. And I don't like fruit. And they're like, well, what kind of fruit? No. Fruit. The entire category of fruit.
Is it a texture thing or?
I don't know. I just don't like fruit. And people are like, there must be some fruit you like. I'm like, no, there's no fruit I like.
I'm with you that bananas are foul to eat just by themselves.
So, but anyway, I don't eat fruit.
What about cooked fruit, like an apple pie?
No.
No.
No,
Wow.
nothing.
I, if pushed, can eat a raw apple, but that is the only fruit. That is the only fruit.
Don't.
I mean, I
push
don't normally do it, but like if you said to me, but gun to my head, you have to eat a fruit. Okay, maybe I could eat a raw apple, but
Maybe. Did you hear that?
Not even a cherry Danish? No. Wow, that was like an emphatic no.
And by the way, I have I'm not sure what to call it, but you have a food like your nemesis, like your kryptonite.
Yeah.
The food that I have the most distaste for is bananas. I cannot handle bananas.
I completely agree with you. I am not a picky eater at all, but there's just something about the texture of an overripe banana that it's just skin crawling.
I don't even like the color yellow, so I just do not like bananas.
Wow.
Strong banana.
That's a scalding take, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bananas know what they've done.
Yeah. They're not good.
My scalding hot food take. I could say the fact that, I hate all pickles and all coffee, even though I feel like I wish I liked both of them, but I don't. But actual hottest take
I can
is...
hear Serge crying.
Yeah, I know. It's disappointing to me too. Look, I'm disappointed too. Is the fact that we used to have this game we would play around the magic circles, which was you can only eat food from one country for the rest of your life. Okay. Which country do you choose?
Japan.
Italy.
See, people slam Japan, Italy, yep. It's like common. Now I'm going to ask you, what country do you think I windmill slammed, Kathleen?
France.
No, that would be a smart choice.
That makes sense.
They have
England?
lovely yes, it was the UK.
England.
And people are like, what is actual wrong with you? They're known for having terrible food. But I'm like, no, they have all of my favorite food, which is fish and chips. Now that they might not make it great over there. Okay, but I'll make it and it'll be fine. You can have
They make good fish and chips.
Fish and chips, yeah, fish and chips. You can have meat pies, so
Yep.
you can have shepherd's pie, cottage pies. I love all of that.
Those are good.
You can have strawberry shortcake, which I think is delightful. Everything from the Great British Baking Show.
That's true.
That's British and baked. You get all that. I just think that my favorite food is meat and potatoes, and they do meat and potatoes that's their deal. Mushy peas, you know what I mean?
You gotta also get a fine variety of comedy food names. I would not be able to ever eat a spotted dick, but you can have as much as you want.
Yes, I get all the spotted dick a girl can want with my food country of choice.
Bangers and mash.
Bangers and mash. Yes, bangers and mash. That's another one of my all-time favorites. You know what I mean? So, I don't have to explain myself to you people.
What is your food country of choice?
Oh man, it's so challenging to pick. I think that I would probably pick. Indian. I think is my choice.
That's a good country because they've got a huge variety of
They
food.
have a really big variety of food.
People always think,
It's
really
really good.
one kind of, but it's no. What
can
you get
eat
here is
so many kinds of dumpling dishes and vegetable pancake dishes and then curry dishes also and
different types of
yes,
curries,
very
wet
saucy
dry
curries or dry curry. Yes.
biryani,
Saucy curries.
Saucy curries.
I think you actually have the superior play here. I'm regretting my instinct choice.
It's
I stand by
feel good
Italy.
about it.
Italy's also very strong.
Yeah, Italy's a great pick. Japan's a great pick.
But as you can see, everyone thinks I am wrong.
We can all agree.
It's an appalling,
Yeah.
it's appalling choice.
I found a vector in which you had chosen wisely. I'm helping.
Thank you.
All right. We gave
yes.
you time.
All right.
This is Megan's controversial food
Okay. Cold Pop-Tarts are not worth eating. You're trash if you eat a cold
I
Pop-Tart
agree with
and it
that.
tastes like trash.
Yes, they should be
Only
a
you
little
know
bit burnt.
Yeah, you got to toast them or else.
Burnt.
Slightly, just left in there maybe 15 seconds too long.
I would prefer that over a cold. It's just,
Cold, I
it
don't
is
want it.
straight up not worth eating. It is a bad experience.
When I was shopping for my daughter, And being an adult, I have not eaten a Pop-Tart in years. But at the time, she was 5. And I was like, oh, my God, you know what she would love? Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
You know what I also now want to eat? Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
So I got some strawberry Pop-Tarts, like the kind with frosting on, because unfrosted Pop-Tarts are also not
Also
I don't know
not
what
worth
that
eating.
is. Yeah.
Don't kid yourself. Just have the frosting.
Yes.
They were served for dessert. And she's like, aren't these a breakfast food? And I was like, no.
No.
Not in
This is
any
a cake.
Nice putting
universe.
in some rules. Although I will also say this. Okay, here's a hotter take about it. The fruit flavors are also the only ones worth eating. Like
Yes,
Boston
I
cream
agree.
pie, s'mores, cinnamon,
Get out
all
of
that
here.
weird trash. Get out of here. Does not belong. A Pop-Tart is a fruit-filled, icing-topped situation.
Is it a
only.
sandwich though?
Yes. I know where I fall
Just
on
had to
the
throw that
alignment on
curveball in there.
on the chart of it. I am the yes on the Pop-Tart.
So best kind of fruit Pop-Tart?
Cherry.
Cherry.
Yes.
I think you might get some exotic Pop-Tart flavors down in the States that we don't get in Canada, because we've got like strawberry or blueberry, and then it's like chocolate or s'mores. Have you
Oh.
ever seen a cinnamon Pop-Tart in your life, James?
What? You don't
Boston
have-
cream?
Oh, there's a lot.
There
Cherry?
are.
No.
In America, we have a wider variety of
Yes.
Pop-Tart flavors.
You see
Yeah.
that game shelf right there? Like,
Yeah.
that's my
Our Pop-Tart
that's our
aisle.
Pop-Tart selection. Like that full shelf is like the range of Pop-Tart options that you are offered.
Wow. So Penelope didn't like them that much, so I've stopped buying them.
Yeah.
Now, this is why people aren't buying them in Canada. We don't have a taste for them. And you know why? Because we don't get the good flavors like Boston
Yes.
cream.
The
Okay,
other
but
trend that's
Boston
going
cream
on
is-
down, I don't know if they have it up here, but down in the States is the cross branding. It's like Oreo Pop-Tarts.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're forbidden to have that much fun in Canada.
Oh, but you do get to
That's
go to the
In
hospital
fact,
without
I
paying
believe
$1 million.
not only do they have Oreo
so-
Pop-Tarts, but they have Pop-Top Oreos.
Okay, the Oreo. Okay, I've got a controversial food take, actually.
Yeah.
Oreo's gone too far.
I'll get behind you with this.
How is that controversial?
Yes.
They've gone too far.
I know some people who are like, all right, new flavor of Oreo, time to try it out. It's like they
No.
all taste like
No.
plastic. They all taste like sweetened plastic. Stop encouraging Oreo.
Yes.
Oh, I have a take. If they made something more stuffed than Mega Stuff, I would eat it.
Oh,
Wow.
I would rather have less cream filling in the Oreo,
I was-
yet the same
They,
cookie.
they make
Oh.
that. It's thin.
No.
because both ratios
Yeah.
are smaller.
I love Oreo Thins. I think that Oreo Thins are maybe the best Oreo.
I love Mega Stuff.
Wow. See, we can
Ricky
all live together in this world.
Yes. Wow, we all get along.
I'll give half of my cream filling to Mark, and he can have his triple stuffed Oreo, and I'll have my more cookie than cream filling, and it'll be perfect.
So it's just like do you just like a whisper of filling almost?
Yeah,
Like-
a memory.
I hate to-
Maria likes to open the Oreo, peel it off, but know that it was there.
It was
But
there.
I do agree that Oreo has gone a little outer limits. Like, I think, for example, I keep seeing new Oreos, and they're just like, it's banana cream pie Oreo. Like, what? Like, what are you doing, Oreo?
Yeah.
we don't need limited edition cookies.
Will you also not eat fruit flavor ring, like like a strawberry Pop-Tart? Would that?
I will eat fruit-flavored candy,
Okay.
although I will not eat banana-flavored anything.
Did you have like a bad experience with like banana antibiotics as a kid? Is this where this came from?
I don't know where it comes from. I don't ever remember eating banana. It's not like in my youth, I loved bananas, and then I had a bad banana. No, I just never liked bananas.
I have a story like that with root beer schnapps.
I feel like any story with
Uh-oh.
schnapps is probably gonna end up like
Yeah, that's
that.
a bad one. Everyone only has one experience with a root beer schnapps.
That's the ending of all stories with root beer schnapps.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for our, ridiculous and very controversial and accurate 100% food takes.
Yes.
And all of the other things that we talked about. So once again, I want to say a big thank you to our panel of guests, Mark, Maria, and Megan. Please check out all their cool stuff. Mark, where can people find you if they're like, boy, I need more of him?
If you're not getting enough. So I have a weekly column called Making Magic that's on the Magic website. I have a weekly podcast called Drive to Work, also on the Magic website. I have a daily blog called Blogatog that you can find on Tumblr. And I'm on Twitter at Morrow at Morrow254. And so I'm constantly there, so it's hard to get away from me.
Perfect. Go seek him out in all mediums. And Megan and Maria, where can people find more of your delightful opinions and discussions? Serious discussions about magic.
I'll say mildly serious
Yes.
to sometimes mostly.
We have a podcast called Good Luck High Five, which is weekly. And then we also have a news podcast that's all of the magic news you need in 10 minutes or less called The Upkeep.
Yes.
That's out every Monday.
You can find them wherever you get your podcasts. Our website's goodluckhighfive.com, and all the stuff is on there too. And on Twitter, we're at GLHF Magic, so come follow us and be our friend.
Very cool. So, in addition, now that you've found out all that and you're going to go follow all these people, don't forget to support us by going to our sponsor's website, cardkingdom.com. Say, Loading Ready Run sent me button, please, and they'll send you a button that said cardkingdom.com, a constitutional monarchy of cards. And if you're still like, boy, I just love financial support, why not try direct financial support at our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. I think that about does it for this episode of Tap Tap Concede. Thank you all so much for joining us. It was a blast having you, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.